Well, Kevin Kruger is out at UNLV, but we're talking that and so much more when it comes to March Madness here on Sound Off Sports. We're ready to hear your responses. Let's do this thing. SOS starts right now.
Make some noise. This is Sound Off Sports, sponsored by Sam and Ash.
Hey guys, so my name is Jason Kelly. I am currently the host of the Let's Run podcast, covering all things UNLV on Twitter. I think right now, if I was UNLV, the top guy that I would target is Eric Olin from San Diego, UC San Diego. Top 30 defense, nation's longest winning streak. The guy can really coach. Southwestern ties. Tom Crean's another name that's been floated around about UNLV. He kind of reminds you of a Dan Mullen. I think that this option is fine, but I wouldn't ultimately go that way just because of how bad his resume was his last couple of years at Georgia, and I think he's a little old, and maybe the NIL hill, he's passed over the top of the NIL hill.
Welcome to Sound Off Sports here in the den at Fox 5 Studios. I'm your host, Mike Davis, joined by James Edward Barrickman IV. Right off the top, we got to thank Jason for that wonderful call. Got a lot of calls, a lot of good juice this show.
A lot of good options. UNLV's a good job.
You know it is. And we're going to be asking and hearing from all you good folks at home about Kevin Kruger out at UNLV, 4 seasons. We got a great call off the top from Jason. We got much more to get to there. 4 seasons, 76 and 55. Of course, this is a guy who bleeds the UNLV scarlet red, James.
Sucks, man, because
we love
Kevin
Lon.
Kruger's such a good guy.
We love his dad.
So is Lon as well.
We love the Kruger family. Of course, Kevin played for the Rebels, was a point guard on that team that made it to the Sweet 16 with his dad coaching. But listen, it's a new time. It's a new era here in college basketball. The old ways, the old demeanor doesn't flow so well for a lot of programs. It's a new era with the NIL, with players making money. We already have 4 players that have entered the transfer portal. DJ Thomas, the leading scorer, he's already entered the portal.
The portal taketh, or rather, the portal giveth and the portal taketh away. It's a give and take with the portal.
It is. And I have a lot of thoughts on the type of guy that we need, James. But before we get into that, let's hear another response from someone at home who has some thoughts on what we should do now that Kevin Kruger is out.
Hey, Mike. My name is Glenn, and I am seething that UNLV fired Kevin Kruger. For God's sakes, this man, like his father, brought a very much-needed touch of class to this organization. Yes, in 4 years, he didn't have a winning record, but he was grooming. The players were getting better and better and better under his tutelage. The guy's a winner. The guy is a winner, like his father. I mean, at least give him another 1 year, maybe 2. But I think they parted with him far, far too early. I will never, ever, ever root for the Runnin Rebels again.
Wow. James, Glenn.
You just lost a fan.
James.
Runnin Rebels.
That was one of the...
Glenn's going to the crossroads.
That was one of the all-timers. I'm just going to say that.
That's
Glenn,
in the Sound Off Sports Hall of Fame.
Thank you for...
First ballot.
Because we're just looking for passion.
Whether I agree or disagree, doesn't matter.
That's not...
I just want passion, and Glenn is a passionate sports fan.
Yes, it's not about being right or wrong.
And he'll be right back next year. Don't worry.
It's about passion. I think Glenn is going to still be a Rebel fan.
He's not going anywhere. Listen, we've all been there. I'll never root for the Eagles ever again.
Right.
No, maybe.
But he's hurt. He's hurt.
He's hurt.
He's hurt.
Yeah.
Which is
We're all
okay.
hurting.
I have a lot of thoughts,
Go ahead.
James. Listen, March Madness is a special time. This is a city. We're now the sports capital of the world, right, ladies and gentlemen? We are the entertainment capital of the world. This was a city, a town where college basketball was the name of the game. That's where we hung our hat. That was what Vegas was all about. And now we got the Golden Knights, we got the Raiders, we got the Las Vegas Athletics on the way, all this good stuff going on. Perhaps the NBA, but we even have Rebel football in good swing, James. Yeah. But the one thing we can't get back to are the Runnin Rebels.
How many times do you talk to the old heads here in Vegas? And I shouldn't say old heads, but the people that have been around here for a while, they talk about the glory days of the Runnin Rebels.
They got the gear.
Like it's... you can't get them to shut up about it.
It was counterculture.
They were the only show in town. That's the quote right there. They were the only show in town for so many years.
We need somebody with some kind of... We need somebody who's got some passion. Similar to Glenn. There's a lot of guys. I think here's the issue. NIL is a whole thing in itself. Are we going to be able to compete with schools in the SEC, ACC, Big East with these NIL collectives? No. We've seen what has happened even with Rick Pitino and St. John's having the guy supporting the NIL from the vitamin water guy who created that. So he's, propelled that program. But at the end of the day, let's just get a guy who, regardless of NIL, James, regardless of the money, we had a caller before say you need a $10 million NIL situation now. What you need is just a guy who can coach some basketball, right?
UNLV's in a good spot as far as resources and money go.
But you got to get, it's kind of like
you need somebody who can actually coach hoop. Yeah,
right. It's like what we saw with like Barry Odom. Barry Odom makes the program relevant. Yeah. He makes the team a team of believers that can compete. And then now, Dan Mullen is going to set forth what Barry Odom started. So I think we just need a guy who's done it before, even if they're not the most fluid with NIL. I'm okay with that. There's guys, like, to me, the number one guy I'd target, Jay Wright's not going to want to do it.
Jay Wright's not coming.
But I would say guys like him, Tony Bennett,
you want to have been there, done that. You don't want a young up-and-comer.
I don't want the young up-and-comer.
I do. I want this dude at UC San Diego.
I think
Wade's out. He's
right.
Going to
He's already
State.
gone.
Yeah.
But I don't know if a young guy is the direction to go. We thought that was the thing with TJ Otzelberger before we even took, but Kruger came in after him. Of a different time. I think let's get a guy like Tony Bennett, the guy from UVA, who kind of quit because he didn't like the whole NIL thing. He won a natty. Get a guy who's like proven, who regardless of who's on the court, this guy can construct a roster and coach in big games because that's what we need. I think there's a lot of middle of the road college guys now. The things have changed. There's Cooper Flagg and then there's everybody else, right? So I don't know if $2 to $10 million in an NIL collective, I don't know if that's happening so quickly for UNLV. I think we need a coach who can win games. So you're winning the Mountain West.
No question,
you're getting automatic bids, and you're like.
But the NIL situation is part of what makes the jobs attractive to a guy who can coach hoops. So that's why that's important. And UNLV has the resources.
But that's going to be a guy who's younger. I'm saying the Seth Greenbergs, the guys who just want another chance because they've already done it. Tony Bennett.
Bob Huggins. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm just saying like Tony Bennett. Seth Greenberg, Jared, these guys don't really care about it. Like, they're confident enough in what they can bring to the table. Right. They don't like the old situation. They want the old situation rather than the new. So I don't know. That's where I would be thinking. I'm curious if they're going to go new age or old age, but I still think college basketball. I'm looking at these brackets. We got regions with Hurley, Self, Calipari, Patino. We got Rick Barnes in Tennessee. I mean, so like Izzo, like there's a lot of guys that they're older, they're coaching, and they know
but they
ball.
Figured it out. Yeah, but they figured it out in the era of NIL that you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, it's where we're at now. We'll see. Coming up after a short break, we got more March Madness advice for you. Guess what? Cousin Sal, our favorite cousin, is joining the show. They give us some bracket tips and how you can hang out with him at Jimmy Kimmel's Comedy Club for March Madness. That's after these words.
Hey, this is Mark, UNLV basketball fan. Firing Coach Kruger was a mistake. 2 years left on his contract. Half his players were out this year. He made the NIT tournament last year. In order to build the program to be as good as the Arcadians, You have to have a lot more money as this is a different era. Obviously a mistake, taking UNLV in the wrong direction. More debt. UNLV's already in trouble, possibly losing federal funding.
It's your favorite cousin Sal. He's telling us some bracket tips, plus how you can spend March Madness with him. Let's hear a little bit from cousin Sal in my exclusive interview. Let's talk a little bit of this March Madness excitement going on. Who are you looking right now? I mean, obviously the talk of the town when it comes to college basketball is Cooper Flagg and Duke. Tell me some of the teams, some of the sleepers you would be considering, dark horses that we should be looking at right now as we're approaching March Madness and this excitement of the season.
All right, sleeper. So like double-digit favorite, double-digit seed. Yeah. I would say, you know what? I'll give you Drake. Drake the rapper, maybe not has had the best year, but the basketball team's impressive. The Bulldogs, they won the Missouri Valley Championship. They could pull off a round one upset and more. And Utah State, too. Always a surprise team in the Mountain West. Both should be about 10 seeds, poised to win a couple games. If you want to give me like a 3 or 4 seed, I kind of think Maryland could be a tough 3 or 4 seed. Not very deep, but as good of a starting 5 as any. So those would be my 3 to look at. If I had to pick a favorite, it's a different story. But I don't even know if you want to. Yeah.
Well, some of the let's hear some of the favorites and maybe some of the favorites that people would be thinking that you're going to even stick away from as well.
Well, I mean, it's really stupid to say, you know, I had Jay Billis on last week and he's like, Auburn, just ride Auburn as far as you can. And I do love them. You know, they've been great. They play in that competitive SEC. I almost think playing the tougher competition all year might hurt them. And if I had to go between them and Duke, I like Duke. I know Cooper Flagg is all the talk, and it's a real chalk pick here, but they're going to be right there, I think, to cut down the nets at the end. You know, don't count out Tom Izzo's team right there with Michigan State. You know, in past years, they've been like an 8 or 9 seed, so it was very hard for them to get out of that first weekend. Yeah. They could be as good as a 1 seed if everything, right now at this point, you're looking at them as a 2 seed. So I think they can make some noise too.
What's the biggest takeaway you've learned from all these years of watching March Madness and being in the mix and all that stuff? What would you say? Because I think it's hard. We learn these lessons and then we completely forget about them, you know, 2 weeks later. So what are some of those, you know, core tenets that you try to keep a tight grip on and remember year after year that can lead you to success?
Well, I try not to get lost in the hoopla from the 1980s and 90s. It's easy when filling out a bracket to make Kansas win 3 or 4 games. But if you've watched them, I don't think they've won 3 straight since January 1st this year.
Right.
You know, same with a team like maybe Arizona. You might just put the AZ because it's easier to advance in there. So I think you got to do some research. You have to take some of these up and coming teams. How long was Gonzaga good before you actually had them winning anything on your bracket? So just do a little research. It's all there for you. By the way, I have my pad that I fill out. I don't know if you could see this.
Yeah, let's see some of your research. Look at this.
It's really, really dumb because I understand, like, this is stuff that you could get online.
Oh, my Lord.
You could see.
And this is spectrum level stuff here.
Yes, exactly. I have color coordinated everything. The kids have like a bunch of colored pencils around that they don't do anything with. I'm like, let me color out last 4 buys, first 4 in, and you know, the first 4 buy, all that stuff. And but yes, like I said, I think you can find some of the stuff online. And I do the tournaments too. The conference tournaments.
Yeah.
Are all mapped out too. Very stupid waste of time.
Do you put a lot of credence into teams that might not be having the strongest season, but they show out big and you carry that momentum from winning the conference championship? Do you like those types of teams generally, or you try to stay away? How big of a momentum thing is that for you?
It depends where they are, right? Like if they were a top 10 or 15 team all year, but weren't expected to win their conference tournament, but did, I like that. If they were like a 9 seed, like I think Oregon won their conference last year, you know, and they played well in the tournament too, but you know, it doesn't necessarily, you don't want to say just because they had a good 3 days means that they're going to go far. when they're lining up against the big boys. So I try to, I like coaches. I go for coaches. I look at coaches that I don't know, and I look at their jackets. And if they're wearing like raggedy jackets, I'm like, wow, this is good. They're not focused on attire. They're more focused on the X's and O's.
So you're saying we went the opposite of like GQ Pat Riley. The exact.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that works in college basketball. Maybe I'm wrong.
March 20th and March 21st, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. You're going to be hanging out at the Link.
Actually, 4 p.m. 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. I don't want people showing up early. I don't want people showing up at all, really. No, 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. For the later afternoon games. That's Thursday and Friday. Speaking of, there's good food at the Kimmel Club. There's brisket tacos and giant pretzels. It's worth it to fly from Des Moines just for that. There's also a non-alcoholic drink named after me with grenadine and cherry juice, but we're going to give away thousands of dollars in prizes and trivia contests and physical challenges, and you get to hang out with my band of lunatics.
It's going to be amazing. A lot of guys from The Ringer. We love Kenny Mayne, a former UNLV guy who was just here in the studio with us. He'll be there as well, so there's going to be a lot of fun. And listen, you come to Vegas, you got a bunch of things on the docket, a lot of things on the agenda, and then you can also add this into the mix to watch these games. It's a great place to be. Cousin Sal, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us any last things you want to mention.
That's it. March 20th and 21st. I also have on Splash Sports, I have a $50,000. It's a 50K melee. It's an eliminator pool. Do you do eliminator pools for the March Madness?
Yes, I love that. I like that as well. Oh, so tell us about that. That sounds awesome.
This is sponsored by Splash Sports, who's also sponsoring this this outing at the Kimmel Club, March 20th and 21st. But yeah, you put someone's going to get 50,000. They guarantee 50,000, even if it's just you and I entering the contest.
Really?
They're going to give one of us $50,000 for picking just one winner a day for every day of the tournament.
To hear my full conversation with Cousin Sal, go to our YouTube page, Silver State Sports, and make sure you go hang out with him at Jimmy Kimmel's Comedy Club.
What is your boldest prediction for the NCAA tournament? Steve Eagleston on Facebook says St. John's wins it all.
All right, welcome back to Sound Off Sports. Mike Davis, James Edward Barrickman IV. We got to be quick here, James, but a lot of interesting storylines going on March Madness. I can't believe the big thing for me is SEC.
It's
breaking
a little
the
bit
record.
Obnoxious. It's a little
14 playoff berths, breaking the Big East record of 11. I mean, the only teams that didn't make it, what was it, LSU and South Carolina out of the SEC. That's insane.
That shouldn't happen. If you finish 13th in your conference, you shouldn't be in the tournament. I don't care how tough your conference is.
Yeah.
I think, and there's a little bit of conspiracy theory on Twitter right now that there has been an organized campaign between ESPN and the SEC to kind of push SEC stock through the roof so that they could get to this kind of record number of tournament teams in the field.
It's crazy.
It's insane.
There's so much interesting stuff going on. There's a lot of fascinating storylines just from coaches. We got in that same region. We got Pitino, Calipari, Bill Self.
Good to see Pitino back in it.
I love that.
I'm rooting for the Johnny.
A lot of people are going to be rooting for him. Even Phil Martelli's son, Coach Phil Martelli from St. Joe's with Jameer Nelson, all those great teams. He's in that region. But now we even just saw Wade, who's coaching a team in March Madness, is already moving on to the next team.
I don't like that. We've talked about things like this on this show previously. Right. With your Eagles coordinators, Steichen and company.
I've never seen
But accepting a job and announcing it before the tournament even starts as a 12 seed?
It usually happens when you lose the game, then after the game that happens.
That shouldn't be allowed.
So I don't know.
That sets a bad precedent.
And he's already got an interesting thing because they're playing Clemson in the first round, and he's a Clemson guy.
Yeah, and like how many 12 seeds knock off a 5 seed every single year? I'm taking Clemson in that.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting seeing that.
Real quick, we have 25 seconds. What's like your boldest bracket prediction here?
I don't think there's a lot of boldness to occur this season. I think Drake. I like Drake a lot.
You like Drake in the first
I like
round?
Drake. But I think it's really going to be a lot of ones and twos in the final.
I got a lot of
four,
ones and twos as well. I think the boldest thing I have happening: BYU to the Elite Eight, UCSD to the Sweet 16.
All right,
We'll
good
see.
calls there. We'll see what happens. I'm hoping Kelvin Sampson can finally make some glory happen for those Cougars in Houston. Coming up after a short break, it's time for Sink or Swim. Don't go anywhere. More SOS after these words. All right, it's Sink or Swim time here on Sound Off Sports. James, I'm going to give you the floor because
appreciate that.
I was just going to talk about my bromance of how much I like Cooper Flagg, but I think you got to talk about what's going on with UNC and this whole. You've already alluded to conspiracies going on with ESPN and the SEC. So
I'm
why not?
chronically on Twitter, so I see all the crazy.
So tell us, give us your rant on how UNC there's some iffiness going on here.
If you're gonna sit there as the committee year after year and pound us with, well, what's your quad one resume? What's your quad one resume? And you're gonna put in a team with a 1-12 record in quad one over a team like Indiana, a team like West Virginia, who, by the way, had 6 quad one wins. That's more than Texas and UNC's quad one wins combined.
Right.
So you think about that. I mean, I could rant about West Virginia should have been in the tournament for days.
And I mean, listen, he's not biased. He didn't.
I didn't go
there.
to West Virginia. No, I didn't.
He did.
And I just think it's nonsense that on a committee that decides which teams get in and which teams don't, you can have an athletic director from one of the schools in contention.
Bad.
It's nonsensical. And you can sit there and say,
you
that's
can
not sit
right.
there and say all you want, he's left the room for the conversations. It doesn't matter. He's still in the room for the conversations about the other teams affecting UNC. I think it's nonsense. Take us to break.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's why I love this man right here. My right-hand man, James Edward Barrickman, the fourth, going red in the face here for Sink or Swim. Enjoy March Madness. Have a great time. We'll see you next time here in the Den at Fox 5 Studios.